Hey, what's up guys? John here. Jerome Powell came out today saying that March is actually going to be the first rate hike. But there's a lot of uncertainty in 2022. And he's saying that with supply chain bottlenecks and other potential problems coming in, that he believes that the market is going to be able to absorb more hikes and more change, which the stock market is not liking so much right now. But what I'm looking at more importantly than anything is what are the smart investors doing right now in the real estate space, in residential, multifamily, industrial, commercial. What are they doing? Well, they're borrowing as much money as humanly possible and buying hard real assets. It makes sense, right? But what I'm looking at specifically after Jerome Powell's meeting, Los Angeles just announced that they are banning oil and gas. They're banning oil and gas. So the big question becomes is what happens to all of these real estate holders when oil and gas is banned in Los Angeles? This is what they're doing. They're likely going to have to bring in oil and gas from a third party, potentially another country. So if that does happen, the prices are going to be through the roof. And there's new mandates and changes that are coming out right now to push these property owners onto solar, onto clean energy. And so I started doing my research. I called a company today called Y Green. And I started asking them, how does this process work? What would happen if I'm a Los Angeles property owner and I want to work with this company? She said, well, what we do is we'll send out a contractor to your property. They're going to give you a bid. Then we're going to take that bid, we're going to add on fees and charge you roughly 7.99% interest. And it's going to be taken out of your property taxes every single year until it's paid for between 15 and 30 years. So your tax base, depending on the property, of course, could double or triple. It's pretty substantial. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through what these changes are going to look like. So please hit that like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube's going to share this content to educate more people about what's really going on in Los Angeles, California, and likely your city next. Los Angeles bans new oil and gas wells and will phase out old ones over 5 years. The Los Angeles City Council on Wednesday voted to ban new oil and gas wells and to phase out existing wells over a period of 5 years following decades of complaints by residents who have grappled with health problems from living near drilling sites. The measure introduced by council members in December 2020 is part of a broader push by the county, and the state of California to establish more distance between drilling and people and transition away from climate-changing fossil fuels. The region includes one of the largest urban oil fields in the country with more than 5,000 active wells in LA County and more than 1,000 active or idle wells within city limits. More than 500,000 people in LA live within a quarter mile of active wells that release air pollutants like benzene, hydrogen sulfide, particulate matters and formaldehyde, and pollution disproportionately affecting Black and Latino residents. Today we are reinforcing our commitment to environmental justice, Martinez said during a news conference on Wednesday morning. For too long, neighborhood drilling has disproportionately affected the health of our low-income communities of color, Martinez said. From freeways to power plants, our frontline communities bear the brunt of pollution and climate impacts. Research shows that people who live near oil and gas drilling sites are at greater risk of permanent births, asthma, respiratory disease, and cancer. Living close to wells is also linked to weakening lung function and wheezing, according to a study published by the Journal of Environmental Research. This is not just a matter of public health and safety, it's also a matter of justice. Jasmine Vargas, a senior organizer at the nonprofit Food and Water Watch, told council members before the vote, "I think this day has been a long time coming." The oil and gas industry has strongly opposed such measures, arguing that banning and phasing out oil and gas will hike up gas prices and harm jobs. Yep, exactly like I've been saying. Supporters have urged that the city must ensure that fossil fuel jobs are replaced with clean energy jobs. Rob Zierman, Chief Executive Officer of the California Independent Petroleum Association Industry Justice Group, representing nearly 400 oil and gas companies, said the measure would essentially be taking someone's property without compensation, particularly one which is duly permitted and highly regulated. Shutting down domestic energy production has not only put California out of work and reduces taxes that pay for vital services, but it makes it more dependent on imported foreign oil from Saudi Arabia and Iraq that is tankered into LA's crowded ports. Los Angeles is the third government entity in the county to pass an oil and gas ban. Like I said, this is going to continue. The oil and gas bans are going to continue. We're already seeing it happen right now in Ithaca, New York, and we're seeing it in New York City. This is a movement that's occurring right now in the real estate space. So the big question I ask myself is, what are the carrying costs? What are the responsibilities of landlords that are operating in these cities with these new provisions that they're going to have to navigate? Culver City last year passed an ordinance to phase out oil and gas extraction in its portion of the Inglewood oil field within 5 years, and to require that all wells be plugged and abandoned in that period. And the LA County Board of Supervisors voted last year to ban new wells and phase out existing wells in unincorporated areas. In October, California moved to ban oil wells located within 3,200 feet of homes, schools, and populated areas after years of complaints by residents and activist groups. If passed, the rule would not be banning wells within those areas, but instead require new pollutant controls. Y-Green has done very well for themselves, at least that's how it seems. And what is interesting is when you're looking at their website to get an idea of what is likely to happen, this is what I'm thinking is going to happen, is I think there's going to be a huge opportunity for these finance companies to come in there and finance these projects, because California residents are going to have no choice but to do them. And if they do them, they're going to need financing in most cases. And if you're getting paid straight from the property tax revenue, if you default on the taxes, then, Y-Green would take over the asset, it seems, or a third-party provider through that loan. These energy-efficient upgrades not only benefit the property owner, but also have a measurable impact on over 45 counties in California where PACE is available, including Sacramento, Fresno, LA, Napa, San Fran, Santa Cruz, San Diego, Ventura, Nevada, and more. Y-Green alone has financed over 34,000 projects in California. 34,000 projects in California that have saved over 3 billion gallons of water and 4.6 billion kilowatts of energy. Y-Green has also installed over 75 megawatts of solar panels, which is enough to power 37,500 residential properties. All in all, Y-Green has helped California reduce 1.19 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions to date, and led to a creation of over 10,000 jobs. The best part, we're only getting started. And I agree with them. They are only getting started. They, along with many other providers. What I think is going to be interesting here, though, let's say, for example, that you're a school teacher or a bus driver, or you have an average job, economically speaking, and you make $50,000 a year. And 20 years ago, you bought a house in California in Los Angeles for $200,000. Maybe it was in South LA. You bought it for $200,000. It was very affordable at the time. Maybe the payments were $1,500 a month, and you were making $5,000 a month or $4,500 a month. Everything was fine. And now you're getting into the retirement age, and you now are stepped with this problem that you have to solve. Is how are you going to be able to essentially comply with these new energy restrictions if you don't have the capital to do it? You would likely take out a loan, right? And so let's say, for example, that the changes are $100,000, and I think that's probably a pretty conservative number. A traditional bathroom might be $25,000, a kitchen might be $50,000, But if you are taking your property off of fossil fuels and you're essentially rebuilding that property to make it on clean energy, let's say, for example, it's $100,000 and you're financing it over 7.99% per year, right, over 30 years. The total cost of that loan is $1 million. $1 million. And so how do you make the payments on that property if you are stepping into a retirement period? You don't, I would imagine. I would think that you would likely sell that property. That's why I think that we could be stepping into at least a discussion about what California looks like and other markets potentially look like with some of these changes. Because I know it's happening in Ithaca, New York. I know in New York City there's some of these changes as well happening. But I just think it's very interesting because we're stepping in this dynamic in the market where a lot of people are borrowing a lot of money to acquire multifamily properties, and they're doing so in great fashion. But the question just becomes, if you're doing it in Los Angeles, where this is now becoming this is going to become law, how is this going to impact one's ability to switch out all the utilities and the functionality of oil and gas and how they receive energy to those properties? If you're buying them at a 3% cap rate today and vacancies, let's say they stay the same, and rents, they continue increasing, which I don't think is very possible over the long term. I do think we're going to have to see a setback here. How are these investors going to be able to fulfill this obligation? Drop your comments below. Let me know what you think about this, and subscribe here. Consider subbing on my second channel. I'll catch you guys in the next video. YouTube Success Blueprint. To learn more about growing your YouTube channel and creating passive income as a YouTuber, register for my YouTube Success Blueprint by clicking the link in the description below this video.